So the question was, what are some examples of unruly behavior? All right. So basically anything that a kid does that I cannot get in trouble for. Okay. So as an adult, I can get in trouble for disobeying my parents. Okay. Maybe it's not nice, but I'm not going to go and get in any kind of trouble. Skipping too much school or skipping school, running away from home. I mean, if I ran away from home, my wife would just be mad at me. Like it wouldn't be like I'm going to be in trouble for that. But juveniles can be in trouble for running away from home. Habitually disobeying your parents. So that means like, not like, oh, you didn't clean your room, but hey, you've been leaving, you're not meeting your curfew, you are not doing what you're supposed to do in many, many different realms. Okay. So all of those, and they're all called status offenses. Okay. Time travel is not illegal, and I highly recommend that you all do it. Okay. So, Jack Dupree. So, but once you turn 18 years old, none of those things apply to you anymore, and unruly behavior no longer applies. All right. Um, the next question is, and by the way, the word delinquent means that you are committing behavior that I can also get in trouble for. So if you went and robbed a bank, or if you um, went and like punched a cop, okay, those are things that I would get in trouble for and things that you would get in trouble for. And so that is when you become a juvenile delinquent or you commit delinquent behavior. Okay. Next question. What are some examples? And this is really important. Okay. What are some examples of juvenile rights? What are some examples of juvenile rights? Type that in on the chat. What are some examples of juvenile rights? Go on out, close the door. The secrecy. Yeah. Yeah, those are good. Okay. So notice of charges, what we in the adult world call the Miranda rights. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to a lawyer, all those different things. The biggest one is you have the right to have your parent or guardian present when you are being questioned. So even if there's a lawyer there, you've got to have um, you have the right to have your parent or guardian there, because even people who have crummy parents, sometimes usually the parents are going to do everything they can, to try to help the kid. And so that's super important. You also, I see that Jack, you put on there, Jack Dupree, you put that you have the right to not have your name or photo released. So that's true. Okay. However, there are some cases that we'll talk about on Thursday. We're going to talk about how you guys can be tried as adults in some ways. And we'll talk about that Thursday, though. Okay. All right. And then the last question that I want to ask you is, so there's an order there's an order of the way things happen for the juvenile justice process. And the very first thing that happens is intake. And intake is when you're arrested and they book you, they notify your parents, they get you a lawyer, and that's when they decide, are you going to be detained, or is there something that is not good for the safety of those outside, or are you going to run away? So that they decide, okay, this person's crazy, this juvenile is nuts, and they're going to try to do something bad if we let them go, or they're going to run away, or they decide, okay, they made a mistake, we're going to let them go home with their mom and dad. So that's intake. Second one is probable cause hearing. And the probable cause hearing is when the judge looks at the case and basically decides, is this even worth taking to court? Or should we detain them further? Okay. And then the third step is the adjudicatory. I know that's a goofy word. It looks like adjudicatory, but it's adjudicatory hearing. And this is where basically you go on trial. Okay. So my question is, during the adjudicatory hearing, do you have a jury, or is there a jury of your peers? So it's a yes or no. Is there a jury at a juvenile adjudicatory hearing? No, there's not. Okay. There is not a jury. Basically, and it's like I told you guys before, the juvenile judge is the only judge that is not elected. He is chosen by he's chosen by other judges, and usually the juvenile judges are like mean, like they're very strict. But most juvenile judges are there because they want to help kids, and they want to help kids by being super strict. And but they also want to have judges or appoint judges that are super strict, but also are very graceful. Like they see situations where grace is going to be a good thing. Um, so juvenile judges are kind of a different animal. That's why they're not elected. That's why they are. That's why they're appointed and not elected. Okay. But no, you don't have a jury. And so really when you go on trial as a juvenile, you are under the mercy of one person. There's not like, anywhere from 3 to 12 jury members sitting there making a decision about your fate. It is one person that decides on your fate. So you're like, man, if you go to jail, okay, as a juvenile, when you show up to your little adjudicatory hearing or your probable cause hearing or any of those, you want to be dressed as nice as possible. You want to have your hair fixed. You want to use yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. You want to say please and thank you. You want to be the most polite individual possible. Okay. You want to put on, because if you've goofed up and this is your one goof up, that one person is going to be deciding your fate. Okay. And so it's important. And here's the thing, it's important that you understand that, hey, even though you're a kid, this could affect you for a very, very long time. Okay. And so it's really important that you understand what your rights are as a juvenile. Okay.